Yep.
Hello, FanExpo San Francisco, and welcome to Anime Debate Dubs Are Better Than Subs. I need to be clear, this panel is not a debate. We are telling you the truth. If you came here expecting to share your opinion with us, there is no time for that. I'm Max.
I'm Andrew.
I'm Clayton, and you're wrong.
We don't know what their opinion is yet. They might agree with us.
Okay, fair enough.
And we are the Foundation for the Eradication of Gen 5 Pokemon because I frankly don't like them. So, before we begin, I just want to get a quick poll of the audience. Who here prefers anime in English? Thank you. 2 people.
I told you they were wrong, Max.
Okay, 3. You're collectively 1 if you're doing that. And who here prefers anime in Japanese?
Gloriously wrong.
I told you they're wrong.
I wanted to give them a chance. And you were right, Clayton. I should not have.
I'm just jaded.
Of course you're jaded. We are millennials at a convention. That is all we have.
So if they're wrong about this, Max, I think they're wrong about a lot of other things. So we need to start at the beginning.
Okay, so first real question. Where's anime from? This is an audience participation point. Yes, where's anime from? Japan? You're wrong. So most people incorrectly believe that anime came from the East, but much like Patrick here, you'd be surprised to learn that it came from the West. Most people attribute to the creation of anime to Osamu Tezuka, the creator of Astro Boy. That's widely considered to be the first anime. The thing is, Osamu Tezuka credits a lot of his creative process to Carl Barks, the creator of DuckTales. Which means that Astro Boy is technically a DuckTales fanfiction, and therefore DuckTales would be the first anime. Our supporting evidence here is, of course, a real document sent from Osamu Tezuka to Carl Barks. It is a Christmas card. I believe his estate sends those to Carl Barks' estate every year. It's kind of weird at this point, but they're just going to keep doing it. And
I'd ship it.
It's a good ship. My favorite ship, honestly. I have a whole panel about my favorite ships, but this is number 1. Now, you might want to split hairs and say, well, Astro Boy isn't the first anime because it's not the first serialized animated series. That's fair. The first serialized animated series is Crusader Rabbit. It came out in the 1940s, and you're going to be surprised to find out it's about the Crusades. And do we all know who the first emperor of Byzantium was? Say it with me. 3, 2, 1.
Scrooge McDuck.
Therefore, ancient Rome, anime. Crusades, anime. Crusader Rabbit, anime. Astro Boy,
I guess.
Technically. And the thing is, in Japan, they know this for a fact. They are taught this in the schools. Have you ever wondered why Super Saiyan hair is golden yellow? It's an homage to Scrooge McDuck's vast wealth.
All right, and while Astro Boy may have been a derivative of DuckTales, I mean, it's still a quality product that helped launch the anime industry. And in fact, a lot of early anime drew their inspiration from American properties. Like we had the 1963 classic Gigantor. You know, it brought giant robots to the screen. And it was set in the future year of 2000. There's a young boy, Johnny Sparks, and his giant robot friend saving the day and fighting crime. But where did they get such a futuristic idea from? Well, from the future, of course. They went and pulled the most iconic giant robot crime fighter, and that is, of course, 1999's Iron Giant. It was a great homage. They loved that show. They wanted to make their own. Then next up we have Kimba the White Lion, also by Osamu Tezuka. It broke new ground with inventive palette swaps and comedic writing. And it was the first color animated series. And while you might think this was inspired by Lion King, or the other way around, actually you'd be wrong. It's inspired by Tarzan, because it's just inverting the story. Kimba gets his parents killed by hunters, and then he gets in a shipwreck and ends up spending most of his life with humans, and then tries to go back to the wild. So it's just inverting the formula to keep it interesting.
Is the soundtrack also done by Phil Collins?
Probably, yeah. He does everything.
That means it's terrible.
Then we have Speed Racer. From driving fast and talking faster, Speed Racer brought high-octane action to anime viewers the world around, and was one of the inventors of bullet time. But the whole anime was actually just a love letter to the 2000s film franchise Fast and the Furious. I mean, you could really feel how much they cared about bringing the family together. Just don't ask about the chimp. And then finally, we have Puss in Boots from 1969. You know, the anime adaptation of the fairy tale, where we have a dashing, swashbuckling cat saving the day. Also, Toei's inspiration for their logo. But where did this come from? Why, of course, Shrek created this fairy tale. Like, without Shrek, we wouldn't have that fancy cat. Like, Shrek walked the cat so Puss in Boots could run. But what made all of these original animes so great? Were they inspired by American properties? Yes, but while that did help, it wasn't the real core. It was the core was they were dubbed in English.
And I, for one, am glad they were, because step one of inventing a world-famous media property loved by millions of fans is choosing a language that people actually speak, like English. And you see, English is but one of the family of Indo-European languages spoken across much of the world, from Europe to much of India to Iran. See, here we have, just to do some linguistics real quick, here we have a family tree showing all of the different Proto-Indo-European languages. Here we have English nestled in right next to the other West Germanic languages like Dutch and Frisian. But no matter how hard you look, near or far, you will never find Japanese anywhere on this list. And this is a serious issue, because if we go switch to geography real quick, here's a map of the world with all the countries predominantly speaking Indo-European language in green, and all the countries speaking a different language in blue. Since you can see that there are no blue countries, we can therefore definitively conclude that nobody speaks Japanese. And again, if you're trying to bootstrap a series loved by millions of fans, zero's a few orders of magnitude off the mark there, so that's just not going to cut the mustard. That's why even when anime are dubbed into a language other than English, such as the early 90s adaptation of the Ramayana, one of the greatest Hindu myths of Lord Rama, Avatar Vishnu, on his quest to save his beloved Situ from the evil demon King Ravana.
It was Situ a Kundia's character.
They probably were inspired by this, honestly. This is like thousands of years old. But it was initially dubbed in English, with some songs in Sanskrit, of course. Those are bought, by the way. They did make a Japanese subtitled version at the times because it was co-produced by Japanese animation companies, so they wanted it to be distributed over there. But years later, they have only dubbed into one additional language, which is, of course, Hindi, for broader distribution in the Indian market. But all of this demonstrates that English is the divinely inspired, objectively correct language to voice anime in, according to none other than Vishnu the Preserver.
So at this point, we can conclude that anime was an American property that was stolen from us by Japan. And the only thing we can do is take it back. So I think we need to force them to make them share their toys with us kindly. And I know the right man for this job, and it is, of course, Matthew Perry. Wait, sorry, that one's dead. Oh wait, that one's also dead. New idea. It's the future. It's the 1990s. We can send a spaceship. We'll use Tom. He'll be pretty cool. He will use his alien technology to peacefully make Japan relinquish their anime to us. And we can translate it back into its rightful language, English. And boy, did that lead to a cultural explosion internationally. So we're going to talk about some anime that Tom has brought to us that really helped change the world for the better.
And the first one I'm going to talk about is, of course, Cowboy Bebop. We saw it. It was fantastic. Everyone loved it. But the CIA saw it, and they saw something different. They realized how realistic it was. So they're like, wait, we don't have to actually go to the moon to make the Russians look better. We can just hire a couple animators and fake the moon landing. Just basements and pizza. Russians look bad for the rest of their lives. It's great. I mean, look at these images. I can't tell which one's anime and which one isn't. That's how realistic anime was.
They're literally the same.
Literally the same picture. Next, we have to talk about Beyblade, one of the greatest shows ever. Thank you. I don't know if I can trust the opinion of a scout, but we'll go with it.
At least it's not Overwatch.
Yeah, that's fair. So a lot of people, attribute the creation of the pyramids to UFOs. Nah, man, those are Beyblades.
This guy was so close. When Moses said to Pharaoh, "Let my people go," the next 3 words he uttered was "Let it rip." That's right. Official Beyblade lore. Not only were Beyblades there for ancient Egypt, but they were there for ancient America. You know John Hancock's signature? It's so great, it's perfect. No human could write that. He was a Beyblade. Not only that, they invented sports. Have you ever wondered why ancient Roman Colosseums are circular? It's not so the lions get better exercise when they're chasing everyone down. Nah, it's so the Beyblades can keep on going. But there's so many more consequential 90s anime that we didn't talk about. And I'll pass over a few real quick. You know, Zoid's Chaotic Century.
Hell yeah.
Zoid's New Century. Zoid's Trigon Century. Zoid's Pokemon Century. And probably the most emotionally scarring of them all, the inspiration for the film Hostel, Zoid's Hamtaro Century. We all remember what Boss did to Bijou, Cappy, and Maxwell.
I'm still scarred for life, I'm pretty sure. My therapy bill is through the roof at this point. I'm still not healed.
Wait, you got to go to therapy for that?
Yeah, I'm one of the lucky ones.
This is unfair.
It really is. Life's not fair. But as emotionally impactful as Zoid's Hamtaro Century was, it doesn't come close to the emotional and cultural impact of the greatest anime ever created. I'm, of course, talking about an anime starring Toru. Wait, wrong. I think we messed up this slide. Sorry. I'm not talking about Fruits Basket. I'm talking about a different Toru.
Did you pay someone on Fiverr to make your slides again?
Fiverr was outside my budget. I went on Freer instead.
The therapy bills.
At least they used a sumo wrestler, so you know it's in the same ballpark. This anime also invented the entire academic discipline of archaeology, including the mere concept of an artifact. Because before this anime, humans never actually built physical objects. They were just telling stories around the campfire until this anime came out and inspired them to greatness. It was also the breakout role for a lot of important characters in the space, such as Ganondorf, who is displayed right here as the suave dealer on a suave blackjack dealer at an airship casino. Because I'm, of course, talking about Jackie Chan Adventures, everybody. The story of famous. Thank you. We got applause for the art.
People.
The story of the famous Japanese martial artist Jackie Chan as he scours the globe in search of the ancient talismans, thwarting the forces of darkness, all while leaving time for good moral lessons for the children, ever important in these dark times. Which is why we are proud to announce today, here at FanExpo, the totally real and not just completely made up on the spot Kickstarter for the official, unofficial Jackie Chan Adventures anime revival. You should definitely go onto our totally real, definitely not made up Kickstarter page.
Fake QR code for it.
I'm just trying to make sure no one actually tries to give us money for this. Now, you all might be thinking that $100 million for the trailer for the pilot episode is a bit excessive, but that's because for art this impactful, you cannot cut any corners. You really need to give it your all, which is why we already hired Tom Hanks to animate the entire thing by hand and crayon, because as we all know, if you're good at one kind of art, you're equally good at every other kind of art too. This is just basic science, people. Now, if you're going to give us money for this, be sure to do it quick. We did just receive a cease and desist letter from Crunchyroll this morning, but given that we just got it in the mail, I'm thinking it probably hasn't taken effect yet.
I already threw it away.
Well, we'll see what happens.
It's not real. Okay, so I think we need to backtrack a bit. Sure, Tom opened up the markets to allow for the commercial dispersion of dubbed anime. But, there had to have been a way to get anime in English before we sent a spaceship to Japan, right? We'll be talking about fan content a little more in depth later, but FanW wasn't entirely out of the ordinary back in the day. I mean, This 1986 Mario movie, the only way you can watch it in English is through a fan dub on YouTube, and it is of quality. I will not specify what kind of quality, but it's one of them. But before you could watch it on YouTube in like 480p or whatever, you'd have to get a poorly translated VHS tape. And where would you do that? Probably here, honestly. Nowadays, the vendor hall is full of things like cheap figurines that I really hope they stop selling soon, fake swords, and increasingly AI art. But back in the day, if you went to a convention, mostly what they were selling was actual physical media. This is the only way you can get your anime fix. It's why conventions used to be primarily in the basements of hotels, because we weren't allowed to see sunlight. But with Tom's conquest to success, we finally had some people to really just bring us anime. So would you care to talk about those, Andrew?
I would. First off, we have, of course, 4Kids. They were, as their name suggests, they were turning the anime into something that was for kids. And they really had to sanitize anime very thoroughly because Japanese anime was not acceptable for kids. Like, we have Pokemon, for example. Like, kids aren't rice balls. Like, that's not real food. We have to replace that with, like, sandwiches and jelly donuts. Like, we got to keep the kids safe. And then, like, the Pokemon manga. Ooh, don't get me started there. Like, that was a little yikes. If you've ever read the Pokemon manga, it was not for kids. So I'm amazed that 4Kids managed to sanitize Pokemon enough for air. I will say not everything 4Kids did was great. I disagree with their choice in One Piece. Replacing the cigarettes with lollipops? Come on, guys. Cigarettes are cool. Your cool uncle smokes cigarettes. Lollipops, the only person who's happy you're having lollipops is your dentist. Because he gets more work.
I don't want my dentist happy.
No. And then, of course, we have 4Kids was a big supporter of separation of church and state. By keeping biblical references out of anime, it's not hell anymore. It's the shadow realm. And then the biggest next big step they took was they went to their remasters like E.T. They removed all the guns, and they also removed all the guns from Yu-Gi-Oh! Because they know kids aren't supposed to learn about guns through anime. They're supposed to learn about them in schools.
And of course, we can't talk about 4Kids, one of the great anime providers of the 90s, without talking about Funimation, who was similarly impactful in introducing audiences throughout the 90s to various properties such as Sailor Moon, Yu Yu Hakusho, Shrek 2, and of course, such inspiring works as Legend of the Galactic Heroes, which is widely known not only for being another great sci-fi anime, but also for being single-handedly, by itself, several times longer than the entirety of English literature.
But wouldn't the dub of it be in English, considered English literature, meaning it is longer than itself?
This is a common misconception. Given that it's an American anime, this would be American literature, Max. English literature, stuff like Shakespeare. Get it together, right? But it highlights how Funimation is committed not only to breadth of cultural conquest, but also depth. And of course, we can't talk about Funimation without talking about Full Metal Alchemist, the original Full Metal Alchemist anime.
The only Full Metal Alchemist anime.
Which was so great that it has been #1 on my anime list ever since. Never toppled from its perch by any single property at any point in... Well, okay,
Sorry, I'm review bombing it, don't worry.
I guess Freerun knocked it off, but Freerun's actually pretty good, so no hard feelings there. It's not like anything else ever knocked it off for. Oh, come on, Bleach? Are you serious?
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with people anymore.
They have terrible taste.
Bleach. I'm never gonna get over
That's
that.
a beverage, not an anime.
So, now we've previously alluded to fans thinking they could do a better job dubbing a series than a professional company, or more likely back in the day, absolutely nobody. But there's a very specific type of fan dub I'd like to talk about, and that is, of course, the abridged series. Now, the first abridged series was Ghost Stories, which was an official release somehow. If you have not seen the 2004 Ghost Stories, I don't know if I'd recommend it. It does not age well. Some of the jokes remain good. A lot of the other jokes do not. It is very much like 2004 4chan plus Massachusetts politics. Weird combination, but it was the first major instance of dubbers just having a good time. And after that, other people went, well, I could dub an anime, and I could have a good time. And then we got Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged. Suddenly, anybody with anybody with a microphone in a basement could dub their own series. Sometimes it wasn't very good. Sometimes it was perfectly fine. But once everybody realized, oh wait, people like this, the actual professional companies went, wait, we could do that too. And then we got One Piece Abridged, aka the 4Kids dub. Ridiculous opening, of course. Hilarious edits, I have no idea what weapon that man is holding. Episode cuts, nailing it. Racism, definitely there. Granted, it's Japan, so I don't really know if replacing a black character with a white character was a good idea. They could have done a bad job there too. But after seeing what America had done to their art, Japan was like, well, we could do an abridged series too. So they took an axe to the holiest of all series, Dragon Ball Z. Obviously, Dragon Ball Z was one of many shows improved by an American adaptation, primarily by changing the low-key intro music into good old American rock. Ignore it's a Canadian band, it's definitely an American band. But
They are the 51st state.
Japan, they wanted to change things. Look at what they did to my boy. The screaming, necessary. Power-up scenes, climactic. Gohan hanging out with orphans for absolutely no reason. Peak cinema. And then they just go to the show and well, we don't need the power-up scenes or the screaming or Gohan hanging out with orphans. We needed those. That was the plot. I can't believe they would ruin the show like this. I wish Piccolo would do to Japan what he did to the movie. But there's something we can do that's even better than abridging a series. To really return it to its American roots. We can adapt it into film. That's right. It's time to talk about the purest form of anime, a live-action adaptation. Woo! Yeah! We're going there. Now, I did too. Some of you may be certified haters, and I gotta say, I'm not one of you. That's definitely not my review. I believe Dragon Ball Evolution is truer to Akira Toriyama's vision than any other adaptation, including the manga he himself drew. Yamcha speedruns his way to being kind of a player, which is where he starts at the beginning of Dragon Ball Z anyway. It was the vision. Goku doesn't even know how to properly fantasize about a woman, leaving this scene from Twilight looking entirely normal by comparison. And then Goku also does not know how to ride a bike. No one rides a bike like that. He hits a parked car. People do criticize Justin Chadwick for looking like he has to go to the bathroom for the first half of the film, but that's because he's being challenged to a fight at school, and Gohan told him he can't fight at school. And nothing is more in character for Goku than looking like this when you have to refuse to resorting to physical violence to solve your problems. Honestly, 10 out of 10 dedication to the character, Akira Toriyama would be proud.
Now, it's all well and good that we've been, for the past 25 minutes or so, talking about how great dubbed anime is, but considering it's supposed to be a comparison with subtitled anime, I guess we should talk about subs.
I thought we made our point fine.
Yeah. Sure, but just for the sake of fairness, I'm going to play devil's advocate. By which, I couldn't find anything good to say about subs, so instead I'm going to point out that they're actually quite ableist. There's an additional barrier to entry for enjoying subtitled anime, because instead of just being able to sit back and listen to the spoken English, you have to do the extra step of reading the text, which is actually a huge problem if, say, you're illiterate. If we look at this graph comparing literacy rates between Cuba and the United States, you can see there's a vast gap between the 99% of literate Americans and the 99.8% of literate Cubans. Now, for the 0.2% of Cuba that can't enjoy English dubbed anime, they can at least listen to this. They can at least watch the Spanish subtitles for a little bit, and that's okay. But 1% of America not being able to enjoy anime in the King's English, that's a serious problem that we need to address. Also, there's a lot of people who do know how to read, but for one reason or another, they're vision impaired, right? They could have a degenerative eye disease. Maybe they caught a nasty case of scarlet fever as a child. For whatever reason, they're just not able to read quickly enough the subtitles as they come up. And so you end up like my dad after walking out of Shin Godzilla, who said, yeah, I mean, it seemed like a pretty good Godzilla movie. I just wish I could have understood any of the dialogue. I wish it was dubbed. And maybe you can read, maybe you're fortunate enough to have 20/20 vision, but you're just too lazy to read. Just like I was too lazy to fill in any content for this slide. But all in all, this just adds up to a problem of pacing. Because when you listen to an anime that's dubbed in English, you experience the emotions, the body language of the character at the same rate as the words are hitting your ear. Whereas when you're having to, read subtitles, there's a bit of a rate mismatch. And so much like you probably already read to the end of the slide to see that, you're probably just not enjoying it properly. Yeah, it causes issues with the pacing.
And then another issue, of course, is you have to wait for subtitles. Like, if you're going to listen to it in Japanese, like, the RAW comes out, and then you have to wait for the companies to put the subtitles on. Like, that could be a couple weeks, that could be a couple months. If you're going to wait, you might as well wait for the dub. But if you can't wait, you only have one option, and that means you have to sail the high seas and find those fan subs. I bet every time you partake, you're looking a gift Trojan horse in the mouth. It's like... But if the call was too strong and you'd given, you'd have to go find those fan dubs, those fan subs. And it's just, you'd go on that journey to find them. But who is creating these fan subs? Well, there were a couple of different groups responsible for creating them. The first ones we like to call the appeasers. These are some of the worst translators because they think putting extra text on the screen is a good idea when you're already reading. And sometimes the translator notes don't even make sense. They just move the translation to the translator notes instead of actually just, putting the note in. Translating.
You have to know the word keikaku.
I don't think I do. That's not a real language. We went over this. And then sometimes they put so many translator notes on the screen you can't even see what's going on anymore. You might as well be playing a visual novel because you have to pause the game.
I think that's from like a 240 rip. That's probably why.
And then, of course, we have the literalists. They still believe Japanese is a language, which makes them pretty bad. But they also just take whatever characters say, plug it into Google Translate or the nearest AI, and then whatever comes out, they put on the screen. They don't check it. Like, there's proofreading's fully optional, by which they don't do it. So it comes out to be pretty weird sometimes. And then, we have some people who actually did some good work, the consummate professionals. Why, sure, they did fan subs. They did their best. But they also did the most important thing. They did fan dubs. Yes, these are people back in the 90s. They lived in their mother's basement. They put out those VHS copies of Sailor Moon in English with, yes, everyone was being voiced by a 40-year-old man, but they put in the work. They made it the best it could be. But honestly, so just the sub-creators making the world a worse place. If they were more like the dub people, we'd be in a much better place in this world.
And if you thought fan subs were bad, well, everything got worse when Crunchyroll attacked. Say what you want about fan subbers and fan dubbers, what they did was a labor of love to a franchise that they may or may not have respected. Crunchyroll, though, they were in it for the cold, hard cash. We went from a few shows a season dubbed by our mighty lords and a few shows subtitled by certified fans to whatever this schedule is. That's too many shows. My room does look like this, but it's an entirely different problem. I have a job. How am I supposed to keep up with all this stuff? And you want me to read it? The last thing I read was the Cliff Notes for Hamlet in the 11th grade. And I don't even read those anymore because they started uploading their content to YouTube.
Max, I agree with you, but as you can see from this graph, people's preference for dubbed anime has actually declined dramatically since the 90s.
Wait, you're telling me people like reading? Andrew, you told me the only thing worth reading was Dungeon Crawler Chronicle.
It is. There's nothing better than that.
And it has an audiobook, so I don't know why I read it to begin with. I'm disappointed.
These people need to learn some good old-fashioned Christian values.
At gunpoint, apparently. Okay, we need to go back to
That's the
bowling.
most efficient way to learn.
I think we need to go back to bullying casuals. Just because you're an anime influencer doesn't mean you know anything about the art form. I torrented the entire filler arc of Naruto, episodes 136 to 220, week by week as they released in fan subs to watch it. And then when Shippuden came out, I didn't care anymore. I paid my time. What did they do? Jump on Crunchyroll, see whatever's trending, then make a video about it? This isn't right. They think Tokyo Ghoul is good. I don't know though. Can we blame them? We live in a period of democratization of not just information, but even worse, tastes. We need to fix this. We need to go back. We need to bring back the gatekeepers. 4Kids, Funimation, I miss them. Back in the 90s, there were only 8 anime, and we were happy with it. We all saw the same stuff curated for us by our humble overlords. If you saw another anime fan, odds are they've seen the exact same shows as you and have the same opinions. Sure, sometimes Funimation would give us a bad show like Sekirei, but mostly it hit. But why do they do this? Well, paying voice actors is expensive. Chris Sabat doesn't take any role. That man is discerning. But now you can just subtitle a show like Crunchyroll does and flood the market with garbage. I mean, when was the last time you thought about the winner of Best Anime of 2022? Because it's not that, it was Cyberpunk Edgerunners. But when was the last time you heard someone talk about, I don't know, Sailor Moon or Yu Yu Hakusho? I'm sure it was more recently. Because these shows have stood with the test of time. Someone cared about them when they translated them. And I know Cyberpunk Edgerunners was dubbed, which means it's good. But, I think that's the point here. We need to go back. We need to judge an anime not by its MAL rating, but by whether or not the company bringing it to us thought it was worth translating into English. So here we have 5 anime, and we're going to find out which ones are worth watching. First off, we have Rising of the Shield Hero, translated in English. Obviously an amazing show. I can't wait to watch them fight a turtle for 8 episodes. Banana, huh? Yeah, it's a good arc. Endless 8 was pretty good, but Turtle Fight, I'm down for Turtle Fight. Next, Banana Fish, apparently garbage, not in English. Wild, given it takes place in New York, and they still wouldn't translate it into English, but it's critical of the Iraq War, and I think no, there isn't. There wasn't when I Googled it last night. That is not real. An AI dub is not care. That is garbage. Rent a Girlfriend translated into English, so obviously one of the greatest stories ever told. Tatama Galaxy, nope, can't watch it. Night is Short, Walk On Girl, Keep Walking, I'm not paying attention to you. And Dr. Slump, Akira Toriyama's first work. No, Dragon Ball's his first work, this doesn't count.
So, my colleague here has done a great job of pointing out the problems that modern anime fans have, which is we're stuck with all these shows that are flashes in the pan, often not dubbed in English, and generally just slow, right? So what is the discerning anime fan with taste supposed to do to watch anime correctly? Well, I have some suggestions. First of all, just don't. I mean, it's all trash nowadays anyway, so just give up and rewatch the stuff from the 90s. If you must, because, you have friends with bad taste, and you still like them as people, so you want to hang out with them, and you're willing to stomach watching the latest episode of,
Solo Leveling.
Solo Leveling. Oh, yeah. Just make sure you're watching it in the King's English, and you should be okay. If the King's English isn't available, then the next best thing is to watch it in the form of a live-action adaptation directed by James Wong. especially the GT edition of Dragon Ball Evolution, the definitive edition.
With 10 minutes of undeleted scenes.
Yes. They deleted the scenes initially because they were trash. Then they realized they needed to pad for time, so they put them back in. If there's no live action adaptation and no English dub, you could just try watching it on mute, because then at least you can appreciate all the fine work that the animators did. There's a lot of shows out there that even if they're trash, the animation is actually pretty good, right?
Just make sure the subtitles are off so you can actually watch the show.
Right, it's going to cut off like an inch of high quality art with like some made up language, right? And lastly, make sure that you can change the musical numbers into Sanskrit, because as I mentioned earlier, those musical numbers in the wrong order were a flop.
Well, anyways, that was our panel. Thank you for coming. We hope you had fun here. If you enjoyed this, we're giving another panel tomorrow at 12:15 in Theater 5 right over there. We would love to yell at you and give her another hour.
About Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
Also, we have business cards. If you'd like a business card, our QR code is up there. Again, we upload most of our content onto YouTube, so if you'd like to see other panels we've done or anything else, it's going to be there.
Yeah. Feel free to come up, tell us you liked the panel, tell us you hated the panel. We love feedback.
Don't tell us you hated the panel, we'll cry.
Tell me that so I can make him cry with it.
Yeah. Stan,
Have a great
you
con.
always say that.
I know.
Everything you make is fantastic. It's the work of God.
We wish. Hey, you said there was water down there?